Hey everyone, it's that guy over there. Just doing a quick follow up on the last tournament I attended. I'm sitting here digging out paints to start in on, actually starting up on rippers right now. So I thought I'd summarize my thoughts a bit from the last tournament, where I'm going with the army, and just to keep a semi solid stream of media populating on my channel. So here's the list, just so you get a mental picture of everything that I took. I'm just going to kind of quickly summarize what what I thought about each group. So that way, in the case of new players or a player that's looking to expand his army, his or her army, they can look at how these things did it this past tournament, and hopefully get a feeling for them. All right, I'm going to start in with lords and heroes. If you remember, I have the Slan and Teto. Those were my two characters. And really, what the biggest thing I took away from this tournament was that death magic wasn't as effective as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was just going to be sniping people off. I thought that, there wasn't. I don't know. I just expected to do a little bit more. That first game, and I guess I should say it's more hit or miss. Um, that first game, I killed one thing with death magic. That was he was a character, so that was, I don't know what, like 100 points or something, but not worth it, especially because there's no way to buff your own units. That's my biggest thing, is that it's only good for picking out one model and killing it, and with that, it's really hit or miss based on the dice that you roll. Because a lot of times I found myself rolling like a 5 for hits, but then you subtract their toughness, and they were toughness 5, so 0. Things like that, and it's just kind of a suck on your dice. That first game, that player wasn't even dispelling my death magic, which made me think. And he's a pretty good player, so that made me think that he was not concerned about that choice. And in Warhammer, you gotta take choices that make your opponent concerned. So I'm looking at maybe light or metal. I know metal, especially against what I faced this past weekend, is what I probably should have taken. The only thing is that they're burning attacks, so if they take that Dragonbane gem on their Demon Prince, then there's really no way to hurt it. It's always going to have a 2+ save, which you can fail. Light is good for cannons. I thought there was going to be more cannons, but light also. So that's like Foz protection is like key against cannon lists, but making your Rippers weapon skill initiative 10 is a huge deal. Or always strikes first and all that stuff. So I'm thinking light is probably the best choice, especially if I'm going to insist upon taking that 30-man source block. Slan is necessary. Again, Lizardmen just need the buffs. I think that's the biggest difference between the super powerful competitive armies and the ones that depend on how you play them. It's like, oh well, you're not playing it right. Those kinds of armies is the reliance on magic, and Lizardmen really do need magic, whereas Warriors of Chaos, magic is more just icing on the cake. They're just dangerous all the time. Teto is pretty key if you want to rule the magic phase. Rerolling ones is a big deal, and Vanguard, it improves your magic phase with Vanguard if, like, you take the Troglodyte and Vanguard him up into position. Just it's a good choice, and he gives you Lore Master Heavens, which gives you a unique little tool bag of spells that you can use in your games also. Like the second game, when I put that comet down to block half the army, and then I moved everything to the right. That's the kind of stuff you can do with Heavens. It also offers some unique buffs: -1 to hit, reroll ones to hit with your own units, reroll 6s to hit and to wound, and armor saves for your opponent's units. Those are some good spells to help you out where you need it. That's in close combat. I've always relied heavily on magic. I don't know why. I just naturally gravitate towards magic. So I'm going to look at starting to take some cowboys, some scarvets on cold ones. So just experiment with that, because I look at him like, man, he's got 2 wounds and he's like 150 points or somewhere between 100 and 150 points. So I don't know, but I'll test it out and see how it goes. So, but the slan is definitely in there. Core. I'm going to start experimenting with skink units with Croxagore in them, just because I really like the Croxagores and I just like the way they look, and I really do like the strength 7 attacks. Um, yes, they bleed combat resolution and all that, but they're strength 7, and they have 3 wounds, even with just a 4+ save. I don't know. I'll try them out and see what happens. They're immune to fear, which is kind of cool because they cause fear. I don't know. I think that they'll be useful, but we'll see what happens. Skink Cloud seems unwieldy. I had 4 units of skinks, and I think any more than that, you'd be running through each other and panicking off the table, and unless you take a Carnosaur mounted general, you're not going to be able to reach your leadership bubble out. So I don't know. Skink Cloud. I know that all the competitive lists take it, but I don't know what that. What does that mean? Competitive lists. The ones that you see going to the ETCs and stuff like that, they have Skink Clouds, and everybody. I don't know. I can't. They just, and maybe I was just playing them poorly, but when they come up in your face, there's really no way to. I guess you can just try to dance around the table and only sacrifice 1 unit at a time, but I don't know. That doesn't seem like a very fun game to me. So I'm gonna use what I can, just because I instead of taking pterodons, I would rather take skink skirmishers. Um, so we'll see how it goes. A few units is good, but too many, I think you're not going to kill very much, and they're just going to die. I find myself. Let me talk about Saurus. So the Saurus, I took that big unit of 30. I took it to a 1500 point earlier when I won all those models that I had, and there were games where they just took hits, like cannons would shoot at them. A fiery convocation went off for several turns on them, and that's just what they did. Is they just took hits. So they really aren't very good in close combat. They're just there to be a rock to last for a couple turns against something. So I kind of like them. They stick around for a while. Skinks, I think, with toughness 2 are just going to die. Saurus, they die pretty quickly also, but not. They give me enough time to get away from them. Skinks, they die and then they reform and face something else. Saurus, if they get hit by something scary, you have time to get away with your slan and all your other units to try to avoid that, or maneuver on them with the Croxagores and stuff like that. I like blowpipes more than javelins. I found that out this past tournament, is that I know that if you are outside of half range, so you're long range, you can't move, multi-tap, and shoot 18 inches. But you can move and shoot at 18 inches, 1 shot each, and it's the same as a javelin. At 18 inches, though. Or if you're within 9 inches, you can still move, multi-tap, and still be hitting on 6s. Javelins are quick to fire, that's important to note, but that means you might get some wounds when they charge into you. But I don't know. I just find myself liking blowpipes more. But call me crazy. That's what I see. Special. I've got Rippers. Rippers. They might not be like Skull Crushers, but imagine if your spells. Imagine your slan had like the Lizardmen lore. There was one that gave you D3+1 attacks for Frenzy, instead of just +1. There was one that gave you Hatred. There was a spell that gave you Armor Piercing. There was a spell that gave you Killing Blow. Now, granted, you could cast that on Saurus and all these other things, and it's cold ones, but all of those things sound amazing. Like, imagine if you had a spell that did that. Well, Rippers just come with it. If you have a toad on the unit that you're actually going to charge, which that's key with them, by the way, is the blot toads really need to go on the units that you're going to fight. It doesn't matter if they are necessarily good against that target, but like say you're going to use them for killing war machines, don't put them on the big blocks of troops and then charge the cannons. Put them on the cannons and just blow through the cannons. Because I played a game against a dwarf army and they just really had a hard time killing those cannons because I'd put the toads on the units. Now, granted, when the unit did eventually come into the dwarfs, they killed like 9 of them or something like that before and they were hammerers too. So the hammers crushed them after that, of course, because they charged them in the rear. But yeah, the blot toads need to go on what you're fighting, and then they come with all these great things. So, and they just have armor piercing and killing blow, by the way, just all the time. Pterodons, I don't know how you would use pterodons, so I don't think I'm going to include those. I know that you can put them do the double flee thing, but again, they're leadership 5, and if you're not fleeing towards your general, then they're hosed. Bastillodons. Now, the Bastillodons, I read an article. Let me grab my book. It's right here. And by read an article, I read a post on the Lustria website, and it was talking about. I should have looked this up before. But if you roll a 3 or less, yeah, okay. So with Teto, you get to reroll once. On a 3+, the spell goes off, and you get to reroll once. So that's pretty means that most of the time you're going to cast that spell. So imagine you roll that 1 dice. You rolled a 1 or something, and then you rerolled it and got a 3. Okay. Now, if you lead off with those spells against, say, like a Demon Prince level 4, and you're trying to shoot the Demon Prince or something, I don't know, or whatever. Now, they can let it go, and you've just lost 1 power dice. And with the Channeling Slan, which is, by the way, the build I think you should take, you're going to be up dice already, just because it's your phase, just because you've channeled. So anyway, you're going to be up dice. So losing 1 dice to get potentially 2d6 strength 5 hits, which, that was like the Stegodon Spear. Remember the Stegodon Spear with the Skink Chief on top? Like it was like that, flaming attacks, all these crazy things. That's if you roll 4+, but you guys know what the spell does. Well, if the enemy wizard is like, well, I'm going to roll a dice, and anything it comes up with, because I get +4, you only roll a 3, that means anything I roll is going to dispel it. So blip. And then, well, if you look in the dispel section, if the total of the dice roll is less than 3, the dispel fails. And then that guy can't dispel anymore. So if they're going to use 1 dice, they have a 33% chance of just negating their ability to dispel for the rest of the phase. And I'd never thought about that. That's pretty key. They need to really throw 2 dice at it to make it work. And even then, if they roll double 1s or something, then they can't dispel anymore. So that's something I hadn't thought about. I think that's important to note. But other than that, their laser beams are really good. Like you can't just let it hit you unless you're really down on power dice, and they're like, I'm just afraid of the whatever spells might be coming down. There might be a comet or something. They're just afraid of stuff like that. Then that's when they would be dispelling or not, just letting it go. But they cleaned up some ogres with those laser beams before the cannons killed them, of course. But 2d6 strength 5 or strength 6 hits against a cannon, it wouldn't be unreasonable to do a couple wounds and maybe even kill a cannon with that. So I don't know. I thought they were pretty good. So I'm definitely going to be taking those, and it's definitely like 2,500 point list. Chameleon Skinks, they're just like Skinks, except they're more expensive. I know they get to scout or whatever, but they might be nice harassers, because Warhammer's all about making sure you're facing the right way the turn before, which is kind of hard. So they might be nice little harassers, but I think a lot of good players will just, especially like those Warriors of Chaos lists, there's nothing the Chameleon Skinks are going to hurt except for that Demon Prince. And if that's the case, then they're going to be back behind my lines waiting for him to come near me which why not just take the blowpipes and the regular units? So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be trying those guys out. Croxigors, I really like the Croxigors. They're it's a it's essentially, okay. I don't want to say it's essentially an old blood. It's a 50-point old blood equivalent. They're weapon skill 3, got it. They're always strikes last, but if you get the right spells, which is just the weapon skill 10 spell, they will be just the same as a cold one, a old blood. 3 attack. Well, he gets. I'm pretty sure he gets like 4 attacks, but 50 points. You can have a whole unit of them. They cause fear, so they're immune to fear, and blah 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 blah. Only 4+ save, but you can just take more of them. So I just like them, and I feel like any reason you would like a cold blood on an old blood on a cold one is the same reason you would like Croxigors. They're not stupid. They move almost as fast. You can take them in core. Like I just like them. So I have 10 of them. I have 10, 4 metal ones and 6 fine cast. So I like them a lot. And those were the one unit I thought I used correctly in all the games. They fought the chimeras, and then the last game they intimidated the ogres away from them. So yeah, I think they're pretty good. Rare, Salamander's only good against rank and file, and for whatever reason, the armies I played against did not bring a lot of rank and file other than the actual warrior units. But everything that I was worried about was not a rank and file model. So I'm looking that maybe I've seen some people have some success with Razordon packs. They seem really fun, especially if you do like high magic. You can give them Blisk skill 5 pretty easily, and now they're just ridiculous. I'm going to be experimenting with ancient Stegodons. I have a Stegodon that I started building when the kit first came out, and I've lost the instructions since then. I have the pieces still, but I just don't know how to put the howdah together. So I got another one that was pre-made off of I did a trade really, and I'm gonna look at that one and see if I can't copy it, and then make the one with because this one has the Engine of the Gods on it. I'm gonna try to do the blowpipe one, and 2 ancient Stegodons that would fix with sharpened horns would fix my problems with things like the demon princes, because if they got hit with all those impact hits, that would hurt them. Any of the monstrous cavalry ogres, and they're even good with the thunderstops against infantry. So I don't know. I think Stegodons are going to be shifting into my rares. It's not that salamanders are bad. Salamanders are really good against like dwarves and any kind of like witch elf units, anything like that. But I don't know. Maybe I'll try to fit in one or something. But it was just hard. Magic can work equally well against those. So plus my lists seem to be a little bit too fast, and they can't keep up. The Troglodon. Okay, so the Troglodon did everything I asked it to. I really did actually like the way the Troglodon performed. The first game, if I had, because I was looking at it and I was like, whatever. I didn't think he was going to charge. I don't know why I didn't think he was going to charge me, but if I had just gone a little bit off to the side, waited for him to fly up, or not even vanguarded him, just waited for the Demon Prince to fly up, then move 14 inches and then have another 12-inch. Yeah, I mean, I could have easily taken out that Demon Prince, or at least had a chance. I don't know. The Troglodon with Death Magic, I think you have to take a Troglodon. You can take a Flying Skink Priest, but a 2-wound toughness, I think it's toughness 3 model flying around the table is going to get picked off by something. And the Troglodon being toughness 5 with like 4 or 5 wounds is just a little bit tougher. So and he causes terror, so there's a chance that people might not even charge him because they'll fail the terror check. And like against the ogres, I should have charged his cannon and fought the cannon. It would have saved a lot of my guys. So he can do that also. And by cannon, it was a ogre scrap launcher or whatever. So iron launcher, whatever they're called. The rhinoceros thing with a big cannon. It's like a chariot. He could have fought that. He can't fight like a demon prince, but he could fight that, you know. So, or like a chariot, one of the corn chariots, he could have fought that, and been reasonably successful, or at least just tied up those cannons. Those cannons were ridiculous. Against the ogre game, he just killed all my monsters in the first turn, and I could have charged it. I didn't. So, yeah, the Troglodons aren't that bad, especially if you're going to have a magic missile slan. So I know that's 200 points, but the Carnosaur is 220 points just for the Carnosaur. And people take that. I know not as often, but I don't know. It's not as bad. It's not as bad as everybody's making it out to be. So I would encourage you to play test it, to try it, and especially with the Death Slan, you need to take it with a Death Slan, and maybe you'll like it. Who knows? All right, got my eyes on the horizon to the next event. It's a 1500 random team tournament in June. What that means is that you show up with a 1500 point list, and every game you get randomly paired with a team member. Mostly going to be just for fun. It's just an excuse for me to play 3 Warhammer fantasy games because the group that is closer to me plays 40K. And I play 40K with them, and they're a great group here over at Gamers Hideout in Missouri. But I really do the fantasy tournaments over like a 40K tournament because it gives me more opportunities to play. Whereas 40K games, I can do one-off games all the time. So I'm going to take Lizardmen. I think it's funny. Okay, so this is a little off topic, but everybody complains. Oh, whenever I go to an event, all I see is Warriors of Chaos lists, and there's Dark Elves, and well, okay, I've seen Witch Elves or whatever, but all of these lists, they make sense, like there's always monsters. You never see any infantry anymore, and when they do, they just die. All of that makes sense fluff-wise. Like, for instance, Warriors of Chaos. Warriors of Chaos is a powerful book because the power of chaos is powerful, So, of course, all these players are giving up their souls to, play Warriors of Chaos, converting to Khorne or Tzeentch, becoming demon princes because they want that power. That's how I explain it to myself anyway, is that if this was in real life, that power would tempt a lot of people. Or like Lizardmen. Lizardmen are dinosaurs. They're slowly dying out, so that's why you don't really see any Lizardmen lists. And even when you do, they're not very powerful, because if they were the most powerful book, then, they wouldn't have been going extinct. So, I don't know. And the reason why you don't see any infantry anymore is because every game, those are the things that always just die in droves, and everybody's out of infantry. All they have left is, I don't know. It's kind of stupid, but that's how I explain it to myself. Is that, you know what, I can explain this with the background, So, and that's how I sleep at night. So, all right. So raw list, I've got this is 1500 points. Remember, so I'm going to take a slant, and I'm thinking light. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to go death this time. I'm going to try out 2 cowboys. I've got some cold one riders, and the cold ones did pretty well, but I'm going to try to using them, 2 of them as cowboy scarvet guys. A skink beast priest to either pump up the Scrox unit or pump up the cowboys or whatever he ends up doing. So I'm going to have a 3 Croxagore unit, Scrox unit, so it's going to be like 24 or 25 skinks or whatever. 1 group of skirmishers. I'm thinking with blowpipes because the beast priest is going to sit in there, and they're not going to be up at the front line. So the javelins are more for, I get one more stand and shoot before I die. The blowpipes, they're a little bit farther back, and that's where I want them to be. I'm going to take some rippers. I think just 3 of them, but they're really good for taking out war machines, and I need that, especially for this list. And then I'm going to take a Stegodon Engine of the Gods for the 6+ ward save, and reducing beast spell casting costs, and yeah. So anyway, 25 minutes. I think this video went a little longer than I originally intended, but yeah, I'll try to do this after each of my events, just so I can talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, things that I noted during the game that came up. So yeah, hopefully you guys get something out of this. In the future, you don't have to sit through the whole thing if you don't want to. Let's say that you saw in my games that, oh, he had a Troglodon. I've never seen anybody play a Troglodon before. Let me skip to the rare section and see what he says about the Troglodon, what he thought about it. So, yeah, I think that's what this is useful for. Or if you're painting, just to listen to somebody talk about Lizardmen, So that's what you should use this for, not a, can't believe I had to sit here for 30 minutes and listen to him talk. I had somewhere to be or something, but yeah. All right, well, thank you for listening. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, like, subscribe, comment, all those things, write me messages, and I'll see you next time.